Hi, my name is Eric Smith, and I'm doing this video for a disability called dwarfism, and I'm going to be giving you two activities. I'm going to be talking a little bit about what dwarfism is and how it affects them. And I'm going to give you the two activities, start off at the very beginning. And the first activity is, what is the cutoff for the height of a person to be considered with dwarfism? And then look up a person called Mani Love. That's Manilove, and watch a video highlights of him playing basketball. It's and just tell me what you think of it. He plays pickup basketball, or he plays basketball with people with normal height, and it's pretty cool to watch. And then dwarfism is a condition where someone is very short and is caused by genetics, or it can be caused by diet and medical conditions. There's many characteristics with it, but there's two types of the two biggest types of dwarfism are called achondroplasia and growth hormone deficiency. Characteristics could be considered would be short limbs with an average torso and a large forehead, but that's achondroplasia. And then for the growth hormone deficiency, it's a short torso with normal limbs. The cutoff height for to be considered dwarf is 4'10". However, there are cases of dysplasia where men can be known to reach 5'5". Dwarfism can cause a lot of joint pain, and it's really bad if they become overweight and their skeletons are so tiny, and it's hard to support the weight. Usually, mental function is not impaired, so they usually just function normal. But there's rare cases where fluid buildups in their skull and it can affect them. The biggest problem for them usually isn't physical, it's more social. And achondroplasia is 70% of the dwarfism cases. Symptoms, the symptoms of achondroplasia is average torso, bowed legs, a head too big for your body, and a large forehead. Adults reach an average height of around 4 feet. All four limbs are shortened, and there's limited movement to the elbow. There are some complications caused by achondroplasia, like crowded teeth, hunchback, and sleep apnea, arthritis, and excessive weight gain, which makes it even harder on the spine and joints. For the growth hormone deficiency, there isn't as much of a problem, but the whole body is proportionate except for the torso. Everything is just smaller in general, and there's bad development. The height is usually in the 3rd percentile of the lowest, and they have a slowed growth rate, and there's usually little to no sexual development. During pregnancy, it's almost always going to be a C-section. Now I'm going to talk about the Dwarf Athletic Association. It became in existence in 1985, and it started with 30 athletes, and then 10 years later it grew to over 600, and now it's even bigger today. The DAA started out offering 8 sports: basketball, boccia, track and field, powerlifting, swimming, tennis, volleyball, and skiing. And in the winter, children with even short stature can participate, but they need to be below 5 feet. And at the age of 4 years old, they can start to train for competitions. And then once they reach the age of 7, they can actually compete. But if they grow past 5 feet, they won't be able to. With dwarfism, there isn't many things that affects them physically. The biggest thing to get over for them is running. It's because their legs are so short, it's hard for them to run for distance. So there's for the running competitions, they're usually timed instead of running for distance, but they do also do this for PE. Other modifications for physical fitness is for the pull-up, they just hang in there instead of actually doing a pull-up, or they do push-ups. Also, sit-ups can be a problem due to the spine problems. But for the Olympics, one of the coolest things to watch them do is bench press 350 pounds at 67 kilograms, and that's basically more than double their own weight. Mostly for the equipment though purposes of sport and activities is everything is made smaller, just because it's better for them, like balls, the courts. But then there's some cases with children who don't need modifications and they can function normally. The development, there's many times where children can have stunted growth and get poor nourishment and are more likely to be much more fussy and crying than a normal child, and they are less likely to want to give love or be happy, which can cause obesity, and along with poor nourishment, it leads to even worsened motor development. And at a young age, weight training is very important for them. It is basically the only way for them to build muscle, since they can't grow because they don't have growth hormone. And without it, it's basically impossible for them to not become obese. I did look at this study where it would have effect if they were given growth hormone. It would have effect. It did have effects on them, but it was mainly just for facial features, and it basically helped make them appear normal in the face. But it was more women that women that benefited from it. The everyday life for someone with dwarfism isn't the easiest. It's hard for them to reach high objects. Schools usually don't have the greatest access for them. Sports are hard for them to participate in, since usually no one's gonna let them try to. But there are acts that make it so they are allowed to try out, but it doesn't guarantee them that they'll make the team. But then again, sports like powerlifting are great for them because their short limbs can help them. They don't have to push the weight as far, and it helps them push it more, I guess. But when it comes to physical and social stuff, the social stuff is the worst for them. The stress they deal is the worst. They will be picked on no matter what. The bullying causes low self-esteem, and it usually leads to poor body image. It's sad, really, how bad they can be treated.